Hello guys and girls, so if you've made it this far to this video for my Python series for beginners, I really want to appreciate you and I'm very grateful for you all for sticking with me and also the feedbacks I'm getting as well. So for this my tutorial in this video, I'm going to be saying and explaining more on basic error handling and file inputs and outputs in Python. Okay, let's get started. So this is a brief overview of what I've been doing so far and how I'm doing my tutorials. So I write comments and what we're going to be doing at the end of the video. So I won't forget. For me, I won't forget things, and it will help me understand how I'll be going the step-by-step tutorials, and so I won't forget things. And for you, or it will help you track notes of what we're going to be covering in this session. And also, if you think you don't want to learn any of the things we're going to be covering, you can just skip the video or anything. But I encourage you to try it out, watch it to the end so we can do the practice exercise at the end together. Okay, let's get started. The next thing, error handling lets us catch mistakes so the program doesn't catch. It's very good and it's very useful. That's all I can say. We use try or except to catch errors, and that's it for error handling. Try, except, and I forgot finally block. I forgot the finally block. But I'll just talk about it. It's not in my comments, but I'll just talk about the finally as well. So we can read from files and write to files. So we can read from files and write to files. File IO is equals input and output with files. We can read from files and also write to files. So that's it. So the next thing is firstly, I'm starting with our error handling basics. So, and mostly you see input errors, division errors, but I'll show you guys the best way to catch your errors and the best way to know your errors and also be able to catch the errors properly before a user like me. I like crashing programs. It's just a thing of joy. Before users that play around with your program try to crash it and maybe crash the program eventually. Okay, so the next thing is so a division error, a simple division error. So now let's say when writing, the best time to handle errors is when you're asking a user for inputs. So that is why I will use it last, catching input errors. So we're starting with division errors. Let's say we call something a variable called result, and we'll say the result is equals 10 divided by 0, and we'll now say 10 divided by 0, then we'll print results like this. Okay, so if I should run this program, you can see an error. You can see an error right here. So it gives an error and it's process finished with exit code 1. So it gives an error. So what are we going to do to catch this error? All we have to do is, now let's leave the code. We'll call our try block, then indent it. We'll copy this code like this, Control C, I'll delete it, delete this. Then inside our try block, I'll paste it right here. Okay, so you can see a red squiggly line here. It needs either an exception or a finally block. So what we're going to do now, after here, we'll go outside of the indentation so it doesn't appear inside our finally. So we'll call the except. We'll call except. What do you want to accept? 0 division error, like this. Sorry, what am I pressing? Like this. Then the same thing, we'll now print you cannot divide by 0, like this. So if I should run this program, it prints you cannot divide by 0, and you see it's process finished with exit code 0. So there's error, but we handled the error properly. Okay, so now watch, let's say something. I would explain it to you guys. Let's move next to catching input errors. That one will be more fun. This is just a brief overview of 0 division error. I'll move to the next error handling now. So, but in this next catching input errors, I'll give a very good explanation on everything you need to know in try, except, and finally. So I'll just delete this one, simple division error. I just wanted to show you guys a simple way to handle 0 division error, and I'll just delete this. I'll move this up here. Yeah. So the next thing, catching input error. Let's say we have like, if we want to ask the user for an input, firstly, you remember to always type your try block. It's very good, and it's a very good way to write your code. So asking the user for input, let's say we have user number like this is equals input. We'll now ask the user, so we have to convert it to an integer. So I'll just delete this ends in parentheses, then inside the integer. So this is a very good way of typecasting, so you won't be writing long line of code. So input, and I'll say enter a number like this. So now we're asking the user for a number. So what next? And then we'll now print the number the user entered. Let's not do anything. We'll print you entered. I'll just use come outside here, and I'll say user number like this. So it just needs a catch or a finally. So I'll just say catch. Sorry, not catch. Except, you know. So except I might just do like so there is a very good exception that you can use. You can use except exception. So it handles all type of error and prints, let's say it prints, what should we print? Invalid. Let's just print invalid like this. So except, why is it giving red example? Okay, it's not necessary, so it's this yellow warning right here, so it still works. So enter a number, I will say 10 like this. You enter 10. So it's, you see, it's a very cool number, but what if something like this happens? Let me delete this and let me delete this. I'll just put it like this. I'll put this like this. Okay, so if I should run this program and tell the user enter a number and the user clicks right apple, you see it gives an error. So a very good way to handle errors that I always use is, once I see the error, we'll say yes, okay, so the user can do something like this. Then I'll copy this error right here, Control C, Control C. Then I would let's go back with our try and catch. I'll try and accept. Then the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to replace this error, because it's very good to be very specific with your error. So accept value error, and I'll say let's just say does not a number. So if I should run this shift F10, enter a number, and I see apple, that's not a number, so it still exits with code 0, but it's because I handled the exception very well. So there are lots of exceptions that can occur. Let's say you ask the user for a number, and what can I use to break this? Enter a number. Maybe I don't know what I can use to break this. Okay, yeah, but they have like lots of exceptions that can occur. Let's say we ask the user for a number, and then we now print. Let's ask the user for number, and we'll ask the user for another number. So I'll just copy this, enter a number, and I'll just, sorry, Control V. Oh shit. I'll just copy this like this, Control C, and then down here I'll do Control V. Then I'll just call this one another user's number, and it will be enter another number. Then I'll now say you entered. So I'll now say what should I do? No, I think the first one is good. I'll just leave only one number. Yeah. So I'll now say print user number divided by 0. Okay, yeah, that's what I wanted to do. So I'll run this program again. Say yeah, stop and rerun. I'll run the program again, enter a number, I'll say 10. It still gives an error upon you say I handled it very well right here. So now what we need to do, you can add more exceptions to handle different errors. Now you see it has a 0 division error. What you're going to do, you copy the name of this error, Control C, and then paste it here. So you say except Control V and print you cannot divide by 0. Okay, then now you have handled it very well. So if I should do Shift F10 and I print enter a number and I say 10, it say you cannot divide by 0. So you can see it handled the error very well. So in case like you can to catch every error, even the one that you can't see, unforeseen errors, all you need to do is just say except exception, then you print anything. You can see most people printing just say invalid. I'll just say invalid for now. Try again, or many inputs, anything, but you just print something exception for it. Okay, so that's it. So lastly, I'm going to explain about finally. So finally, it's a block that always runs. So if I should print something like always run, it doesn't care about the input. So it's very good for closing your files and many things. If you are working with files, so you don't forget to close your file. Even if there's an error, you always close your file. So you can just put it inside a finally, call the function finally file.close method, and it will close your file even though you have an error. Okay, let's say I do not handle division by 0 error or any exception error like this. So if I should run this program, enter a number, and I say 10, it gives an error, but it still gives us our finally input that's always run. So no matter what, our finally block always run upon it went, it exited with a code 1. So if I should run this output again, so you see, you understand it more better. If I say 20, you see, if I run it, it always gives always run. So it's finally always run even if we didn't handle the exception. So it's very good practice in closing files and other things. So I hope you understand this my long blabbering about exception, and I just hope you can maybe rewatch or play around with it and make sure you understand it. Now this, I think this would be a long video. Now moving to file basics. So I'll just remove everything about exception handling, and I hope you guys understand it. So I just delete this or work with files very clearly. So the first thing in our file is writing text to a file. Firstly, let's write text with a file. There is many ways of opening and closing a file. Firstly, we have to have a file. I'll click here and I'll say new, and I'll say file, and what should I call the file? I'll call the file example. I'll say my file like this. So you can see I have a file folder called my file like this. Okay, so now if I go back to my code, let's write something to the file. So now writing to the file, what are we going to do? There are two ways you can write to the file. Let's say we want to call it, the variable name should be my file is equals, then I'll do open. I'll call a function called open. It's an input function in Python. So what do we want to do? Open. What we need to enter inside here is the file location. So if I just write my file.txt, it will build another file for me, but I don't know, sometimes my system is having some issues. So to make sure that you always get the right file path, you go right here. For me, you right click, then you now see copy path or reference. So now see the file path. So if I click on it, now I've copied it. So inside this double quotes, I'll paste the file path like this. So you can see that it's giving an error. And why is it giving an error? It's giving an error because we are calling the escape sequence. So it's all you need to do is either you use raw string, you put R in front of here. So it's like raw string, like it makes this Python reads all these strings as just raw strings, even the escape sequence that is there. So, or if you don't want to do this, you can just do like double, 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 double backslash, and double. Then open my file dot txt. I think it's dot txt. Huh? Oh yeah, I think is it. Then you put your comma right here. Then what I'm going to do next is you call another double quote and write W. This W means that you want to write to the file. This W means that you want to write to the file like this. So they have lots of things, but the most important one is W, R, or E. So W is for writing, R is for reading, and E is for appending. So for now, we're working with writing, so we use W. So this is showing what this simply does is we have a variable called my file. We are trying to write to it, so we are opening it. We are telling Python the location of the file. Then what do you want to do with the location? Tell Python we want to write something. You say okay, now go ahead. What do you want to write? So I now call my file dot write. My file dot write. I think I'll just remove this .txt because it didn't come with the location. So my file dot write. I'll just add hello from Charles GBT Tech Talk like this. So if I should run this program, Shift F10, so it exits with code 0. So if I should escape, you see it doesn't print anything in the console. But if I should go to my file, you see hello from Charles GPT Tech Talk. Now what it simply does, it's written to my file. So if I should change this Tech Talk, remove this Tech Talk, and I'll put it to like YouTube channel like this, and if I should run this program, it doesn't print anything. Now you see hello from Charles GPT YouTube channel, you can see. So it changes it. So what writes just basically do is it overrides the format, it overrides any input in this file. So you can see before it was like tech talk, now I've written a new thing, so it overrides the text there already. So you can write as many things you need on your file, as many things you can write. Like you can keep writing my file does write and write anything once on your file using Python. So I don't want to go to my local directory, I just want to work on everything in my Python module. Okay. So the next thing is reading from file. So there is another method I'm going to be using. This one is a very simple method. I just wanted to show you guys that it's good. And again, the reason I like using the other method is because I forgot to close my file. So if you're using this method I'm using, you have to call my file dot close like this. Yeah, so you have to always call it, and you can see again I forgot to close my file. So this is not a good way for me. I don't know, but I don't like writing it like this because I always forget to close my file and it can give unnecessary issues. So what the best way is you use this with open. You use this with block. Start your code with open. So what do you want to open? Inside the same format, you paste your file location. We'll use raw string for this one, so I'll just escape everything together. Then your comma right here. So write to the file, and what do you want to open it as? We'll call it as my file like this. So that just it. Then inside the with block, so this one is just like if and else statements, functions and stuff like that. So it just basically say with, open this folder and you want to write to it as, then this one you now call it my file. Then enter, you can now still do my file dot write. You can still say hello from Charles GPT TikTok. So if I should run this program, it still does the same thing. Now, if I go back to my file, hello from ChatGPT Tech Talk. So you can see this time using the with function, you don't need to like the with module like you don't need to close your file, so it's automatically close it for you. So this is a very good way to write text to file. So I'll be sticking with this way. So now reading text to file is still the same thing. Then reading to file, but this time around we'll just use the with open. So we'll just copy our file path inside here and I'll escape it right here. Go right here, escape it as a raw string, and outside here, I'll put my comma. And so yeah, what do we want to do? Do we want to write, append, or read? We want to read, so you put R right here. So what do you want to read it as? We'll now call it anything you want to name it. I'll just call this one my file as well. Then I'll put this semicolon and go to the next line. So what do you want to do? I have a content. I'll call a variable called content, and it equals what we will now call a read function, and save all the things inside a content. So if I do file dot call our read, sorry, not file, I'll say my file dot, I'll now call our read function like this, dot read. So I'll call the read function, and I'll now print the content. Okay, so not that, what's wrong with me? So I now print the content like this. So if I should run this program, you can see the content, hello from ChatGPT tech talk. So now it's collecting this content in our file and is now reading it to our console. So that's how we got this. We derived this hello from ChatGPT tech talk. Okay, so that's basically the thing that we need to do. So if I should, so that's just it for read. So we also have read line. We have many functions for read, but that was basically what you need to know in read. Okay, so I'll still give you guys enough example. I'll now have appending, so we can append, then we'll read again. So I'll explain more on read. So the next thing we're going to do, appending, we're going to be using our with module like this with. I'm not going to be opening and closing it explicitly. Okay, so I'll now say open. So you need the file location. So I'll control the file location, and I'll escape it as a raw string. So now what do we want to do? We want to append. So append is similar to write, but this time around it doesn't override what's inside your file. It just adds to the end, as it sounds. Append, it just adds to the end of the file. You understand when we start writing it. Okay, if I now put this, don't forget your semicolon or you crash your program. Then this, you now write the same way you did your sorry, I made a mistake. I have to open it as what? So as, what is this? Yeah. So I'll open it as my file. If you figured out that I made mistake, it's very good. You're making progress. Then semicolon and this. Then my file dot write. So to write my file, I'll now say adding one more thing. So I'll say adding one more thing, or let me just say adding one more line. And then if I run this program, shift F10. So it's actually add the line. Wait, oh, what's the problem? I'll run the program again. Shift F10. Yeah, okay. Let me check it out. Yeah, so you can see that's what I was saying, adding to the end. So you can see hello from ChatGPT tech talk, adding one more line. You can see at the end of it is adding one more line. That's why it's a very good way of writing it. When you're writing this, you have to add like \n. Sorry, shift. No, not this. What am I doing then? \n for new line with, yeah. So if I should run this, wait, no, not now. In the front, I mean to say \n. So if I should run this program, so if I should go back to my file, you can see adding one more line, and you can see it's now in a new line. So the \n is for indicating new lines. So you can see it's just still the same thing. You open your file, what you want to do with the file, you want to append, add to the end, and write. So you can write long text like, let's say we can write my file. I'll just copy this one, so we'll be quick with this and go through this full tutorial. Control C, and I'll just Control V, Control V, Control V. So basically it's adding to the end. I'll just remove these first ones, and let's run the program. Then you'll see add one more line, add one more line, add one more line, add one more line, and all those stuff. So you can see we added all this, append all this thing, adding it to the end, to the end, to the end, to the end. So now let's read. do our last reading. So to read all these things that is in this file, I'm going to go deeper into reading line by line the things from your file. So the same way we do our width, what did I press? Okay, yeah, width, open, then I'll now do then we'll put our file location. Oh, Ctrl Z. I need to go copy our file location again. So if I go here, I will copy paths and references and copy this, then come back here and put my file location. Then I will change it as raw string so it will escape everything. Then the next thing, comma, then what do you want to do? You want to read the file. Read it as what? As my file. Then we'll remember a semicolon and indentation. So the next thing we're going to do, how we're going to be reading it is, you remember our first reading method. We can just do, we'll call a variable called contents like this is now equals my file dot read. Then we can also still print contents like this. So if I should run this program, you can see all the content. So if you want to read all the contents, you can read it like this: hello from ChatGPT, tech talk, this, and read all the whole contents as well. So there's another way you can read line by line. So I'll just delete this. I think they have read line. Let me see, line. Let me run it. So read line does read only one line. Let me just delete this one firstly, so you can understand where I'm going. I'll just delete all these things. I'll delete all these things. The things that are already written in my file, so it won't delete the things that have been written in my file already. So if I run this thing, read line, you can see it reads only the first line, like this. Reads only the first line, read line. So if you want to read, another way to read line by line is you say use your for loop for line in my, or you can just make it more specific. You can say for each line in my file, for each line in my file, let's print what should we print? Let's print line. Yeah, let's see, let's print each line like this. Let's see what happens. So let's see if it would work. Okay, so you can see, but there is lots of spaces. There's lots of spaces. So let's strip it off. So I'll say each line dot strip using the strip function. Strip, no, strip, yeah. Then run it again. So you can see it now reads each line. So it's still the same thing. So there are many ways you can read to file, read from a file. So you can see each line in my file. If you haven't learned more about our for loop, just make sure you go back to my tutorial and check out my for loop example. So I know that was a lot to take in, even me. It was a lot for me because I was keep explaining, keep going and going and going and going. And I hope you guys just got something on it. Now we are moving to our practice exercise, and I'm even scared to ask you guys to work on it yourself, but I just hope you can get something. So I'll give you guys a few minutes to work on it, then we'll move. Okay, so if you derive the answer, congratulations to you, but remember my method might not be the way you got or derived your own answer. So I just hope you learn from mine, use yours if you still understand it your way or anything, but I'll just use the best and easiest way to derive the answer. So let's get started. The first thing is, they said ask the user for an input. So firstly, you can say I will try an exception is needed here, right here in the line 4. So since we are asking the user for their name, we have to use our try and catch. So before asking the user for an input, make sure you use your try block so to handle errors and stuff like that. So I'll now call the variable username is equals, then I'll ask the user to enter your name like this. Then the next thing we're going to do is write the name into a file called users.txt. I don't want to change the name, but I'll just change the name of my file. I'll rename because I want to meet all the requirements. I'll call it users and I'll refactor. Yeah, now I've changed it to users. So the next thing we're going to do is, so now we have asked the user for their name and what else, then we'll write to the file. I'll just write to the file. The next thing we're going to do is write to the file. I'll use the with, so I won't open and close it explicitly. So the next thing I'll do is write to the file. So the file is users.txt, right? So I'll go back here and right click. I'll copy pattern references and I'll click on it. It will copy automatically and I'll paste it here. So I'll now raw string to escape it. So it would be as raw string. So the next thing, write to the file. So what do we want to do right here? I guess we're going to be doing W to write to file. Okay, so what do we want to call the file as? I'll also name it my file as usual. Then remember a semicolon and indentation. So with this as my file, then this. Then the next thing we're going to be doing is file.write. What do we want to write to the file? We'll write, sorry, not file.write. My file dot write. Right. Okay. What do you want to be writing to the file? I will write user's name. User name. I'll just put a new line plus backslash n. Okay. So that's it. Now we're asking the user for their name, and the next requirement is to write the name into a file called users.txt. So that's it. We're writing it to a file called users.txt. So the next thing we're going to be doing is they said when the file open and read back the name. Okay, now we're going to read back the name to the user. I would read back the name. Read back the name. Then what are we going to do? The same thing with open. I'll put Ctrl V, put our file location, escape it. So they say read back the name. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'll do comma this R and read it as my file. Then what else? So read back the name. I'll now call it, let's say, my user name. My username and file, like this. Oh, it's so slow, it's slowed down. So my username in file is equals my file dot read. So you can see how my naming convention is very understandable. My username in file, so it's going to read the username in file to the console. So I'll call my username dot read. And then what am I going to do again? Then I'm going to print something out. I'll print, let's not print it, let's print it outside the with. So I'm going to print, and I'll say the file says your name is, then I'll now call my username file dot, let's just strip it in case of all these spaces and stuff, so we'll strip it. Sorry, and then that's it. So the last thing, they said ask user for their name. We have asked user for their name. Write the file into a file called users.txt. So we are writing the file, and now open the file and read back the name. So we have opened the file and we're reading back the name to the user. So the next thing they say, we should handle the exception in case the user enters an invalid stuff. Okay, so I'll now say except. I'll just use the overall exception like this, and I'll now say, I'll now be like prints. I'll just, so to make this video quick, I'll use the overall exception. I'll just say something went wrong like this. Okay, so now let's run this program. If I run it, shift F10, enter your name. I will say 11111111. So 1 is not a string, so it will use, oh, it took in 111111. Why? So I think we are not adding anything, so it just took in the 1 as a string. So you can see it reads the 111 as a string. So if I run this program again, and I'll say enter your name, and I'll say Charles, the file says your name is Charles. Okay, so we see we are meeting the requirements. So we ask the user for an input, we read it to the file Charles, and we now print out the user's name. The file says your name is Charles. So that's basically it. I just hope you play around with it, those cool stuff, write with file, handle exceptions, and make sure you get a very good understanding on this topic. Okay, So I know that was a lot to take in for you guys, and I'm also stressed out as well. But I hope you learned something in this video. So if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And remember, your feedbacks make me to keep going and also create better content for you all. And see you in the next video.